All right, today we're going to be looking at the workflow between Illustrator and InDesign for business cards. Okay, this has not changed in ages. So no matter what version Illustrator and what version InDesign that you're using, it could be 2032, it's the same process. This is a timeless workflow. So we'll begin. Maybe it changed CS2, yeah, somewhere in CS2, say CS3, just a little bit, but it is definitely the year 2022, and it still has remained the same for many years. So I'm going to cover it using 2019, only because we have a lot of those in the lab, and we have 22s too. They're just all over the place. So if you are running across this and you think that things have changed in the world of impositioning a business card, it hasn't. So we'll get started. We're going to use Illustrator first and come up with our business card. It's going to be a very basic thing. So File, New. So what we want is print. We want inches. And we want 3.75 by 2.25. I want the more settings down here, and I want to make sure these are all zeroed out. Okay. I do want CMYK color for this. And call this okay. I'm just dropping this down for a sec. No. Okay. Hit create document. All right, let's zoom out. Use Alt and the wheel mouse to zoom out. By the way, this lesson is for very new students, so I'm going to mansplain the crap out of everything because the people that are watching this are very young to graphic design. So Alt, wheel mouse, okay, space bar allows you to pan. Good. And let's go in and view rulers, show rulers. Okay, these should be in inches. If they're not, you can right click in the corner here and switch them to inches right off the bat. This right here, let's say you have all these little floating things. So let's start with the same workflow. So workspace, essentials, classic. So now all the tools are looking the same. You're on the same pace as I am, and we have common things in front of us. Okay. All right. Another thing that I like to show students is this one, view, show transparency grid. Okay. So if you do, and for business cards especially, if you need to take up this entire box, because if you don't, you'll have problems later on. So it needs to have a background of some nature. If you don't, other software will consider this a smaller document. Okay. Now that we have everything aligned, everything's correct, we're going to go on to the next section where I show you layout and layers and all that good stuff. All right, let's start out things by using layers. Okay, layers. This has got layer 1. Okay, you can have an infinite amount of layers. Now, in Illustrator, there's another thing that shows up, this little arrow right here. Once we get things on the layers, don't go in there. You can make new layers just by clicking this button. Let's establish some stuff. How about background? We'll just go midground. and front. Now if I lightly click here, it allows me to, it's like a click with a space. It allows me to edit this text. Now it's much better to have layers than it is to arrange by a z-axis. In other words, bring to front, send to back, that stuff, bring to front, send to back is not really good layout. You can do it, but later on it'll hurt you. All right, so these are going to be very basic business cards because, again, magic is where you guys are at. So let's say, first off, you need a background. Okay, I'll just draw a background out, right? For these very basic cards, I'm going to create them over this square, okay? And I'm going to change the color so you can see them later on in workflows. So I'm going to make it blue. This object is living right now on this front layer, but it needs to live on the background. So we grab our black arrow, we highlight the object, and we drag it to the background. Boom. Now it lives on the background. And now we can lock it out. Can't touch it. All right. Again, Alt, wheel mouse allows me to zoom out. Spacebar allows me to pan. Okay. All right. Sweet. Now, I'm just going to put some words on the midground. So if I'm on this layer this time, some text. Here's this tool, might come in handy for the very first lesson. And here's the ability to edit font. Since it's the very first lesson, I am not going to overwhelm you with every tool in Illustrator. Just the ones that'll get you in trouble. So if you highlight your text by double clicking it, you can edit the size. If I use the scroll mouse, okay, notice I can edit the size very quickly. By putting my cursor over the top of this number, I can use the scrolling feature on my mouse. I could do that for font too. So I could flick through all the fonts I want very quickly. I like that one. All right, business card example. This is going to be the front card, front of card. Notice the next time I make text, it follows the same rules as the first one, okay? Doesn't look right, right? All right, so we get the card. And now we're going to save this. We're not making a back yet because I want to show you what you can do with the layout. So my first lesson is always making a one-sided business card, and then the second lesson is making a two-sided business card. So we're already just on the front single-sided business card. You're going to make yours 100% better than this, okay? You're going to have contact info. You're going to have some cool background. But don't forget, the background needs to be taking up the entire area. You can bring in graphics by going to Place, okay? Place graphics. I think I got one here. I got this weird thing I just placed in. Boom. Let's see what else. Oh, opacity is nice. That's a good thing for new students. Cool. And the rest of it I want you to explore. Okay. So File, Save As. I would make a folder called Business Cards. And this is side 1 or front. Keep this CC. And now that's the business card. Okay, again, we're ready now for the impositioning. So we do that in a different software called InDesign. All right, to identify where InDesign is, you just hit the rocket ship, and then you find yourself InDesign. InDesign is located here. All right, once InDesign is open, we can go File, New. Hopefully it's all the way open here. Document. And we're going to choose Print. And then we're going to choose Inches. So 8.5 by 11 is what we're going to start out with. Make sure Facing Pages is unchecked. Let's go to Margins and type in 0 out the margins. We want no column gutters. We want no columns. So the rest of it is good to go. So if I hit Preview, it'll give me an idea what that looks like. And that's absolutely perfect. There's nothing here. It's a blank slate, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, portrait. So hit Create. All right, so we start out with making sure our rulers are active. So go View. This should be Show Rulers. Another thing is, just like Illustrator, there is a workspace, and we can do Essentials Classic. So we're both on the same page. All right. Now, we need to find the center of the page. That's at 4.25. Okay. We do that by clicking and dragging over to 4.25. This will be up at the top, or it will be over here if it's a different InDesign. So you're going to have to find this little properties. Okay. I think that's the only thing that really changed, to be honest with you, just the location of this. So we need 4.25. And then we do need to measure like a 1/2 inch down. Okay, so we have a ruler. How do we know that's 1/2 inch? Because you can see it's 1/2 inch. And then we're going to File, Place. And we will place our business card front. We're going to click. So it should come in just like that. Boom. Whoops. Remind me later. All right, now we have this. Okay. Now we do need to establish the cut. This is a full bleed. We need to establish the cut. How do we do that? We make another square, and this square is going to be 3.5 by 2. Okay. Black arrow. And we're going to move this into the center of this square. You're going to see that it's in the center because it's going to say center. See the little 2 green lines that appear? That means it's in the center. Boom. So that's the center of that card, and that's where our cuts are going to establish. All right, now that we have this, we're going to grab the whole thing, edit, step and repeat. So our vertical offset, our horizontal offset, vertical being up and down, horizontal being this way. So our horizontal offset can be 3.75 because that's how big a business card is. I'm going to hit preview. And I'm going to up the count to 1. See how it did that? Now it did it for me. Okay, that's very important. So you can use this step and repeat for a lot of things. That was just a small example of it. So we're going to use this line tool, and we're going to establish some cut lines. Okay, these cut lines need to be directly on this line. So a best way to do that is move it after you make it with the line tool. You can then use the arrow tools on the keyboard to move it out. They need to be dead on. Okay, so I'm going to have one there. And I'm going to use Alt to copy that one. Okay, and then I'm going to move that one here. Could I use step and repeat there? I sure can. Okay. Okay, we're going to do that with these two. This one's a little fussy sometimes. So you saw how like it kind of jittered. Okay, how about we step and repeat this one? Can I step and repeat it once at 3.5? How about that? How about step and repeat? I'll show you how to use it. So vertically, 0. But this one right here, we need it at 3.5. Okay. Boom. But if you look here, did it go to 3.5? If you zoom in real close on it, you can see it's off by a little bit. Okay. This one was dead on. This one, not so dead on. Why is this off? Well, if you calculate the space here as a space, the space of the stroke, you'll know that it is off. So it's calculating for the inside and outside of the stroke. The box is technically 3.5. You can see that over here. But since it's step and repeating, it's step and repeating with stroke too. That's why you got to be careful with step and repeat sometimes because it calculates for the stroke on things. So just know that. Sometimes it's easier just to do one of those. And again, line it up. And that's Alt click drag. You can grab two of these at the same time. You can Alt click drag. If you hold Shift at the same time, it will stay within alignment with each other with the other two. Alt click drag Shift once you get it done. All right, so these ones right here, we're going to pull these up a little bit. And there's our very beginning layout for InDesign. I'm going to save this, and we'll go to the next step here once I check on some students. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is take and think about like your first cut. We want these numbers to be kind of relatively easy to type into a machine, okay? So what we could do there to do that is first, just grab all the elements using the net selection tool, which is default. And we want this one right here to be as close as possible to this. We are going to never get it perfect. Never. Okay. So I'm just using the arrow tool to kind of move that up a little bit. And if you want to get it as close as you can, hold Shift and move it at the same time, and that will lock it into up and down, where it can only go up and down, but it can't go left and right. So you'll see something that's really kind of fun in InDesign. Let's say I click on this line and it's at 0.5 over in the corner. See, 0.5. But if I click on this one, you would expect that to be at 0.5. But you are not thinking about the stroke. Okay? So again, if you're one of these student completionists, one of the things that you could do is take and lower the point on this stroke to 0.5. Okay? And then you can keep adjusting that to the center of that line until you get it at 0.5. But if you notice, we're talking like a billionth of a thing off. It's not very small. It's very small. Okay? Very small. So the blade itself is thicker than that line right there. So getting as close as possible is okay, all right, within that 1/10 of a percentage point. So zooming in, I can now see that it's at 0.496. Rounded up to 5, good to go, okay? All right, sweet. Now that we have that, we are going to grab all the elements except for the top 4. So here's how you grab those. We have to first set this the correct way into layers so we don't ruin this. Okay? So we make and go over to the layer palette and we make 3 layers. Layer 1 is going to be your card. Okay? So that's default. It's on layer 1. What we need now is to net select all these little guys by holding Shift, just like that. We can now drag this little dot, that one, to the middle one. And if you uncheck the eye, it'll make those disappear. And if they do disappear, that is correct. Okay, the last thing we need to do is the cut line. So hold Shift and grab that cut line and move that up to layer 3. Okay, so now you should have something like this. I can make these disappear. I can make these disappear by checking the eye, and I can make these disappear by checking the eye. That's organization, okay? All right, so now that they're all separated by layers, when I duplicate them, they will also be organized on those layers, okay? For example, I'm going to step and repeat all of these elements, okay? Notice I didn't grab the top 4. Okay, don't grab the top 4. Okay, I'm zooming out using Alt wheel mouse again, and then I'm going to go Edit, Step, and Repeat. So how big is a business card right now with full bleed? It is at 2.25. And it's in a vertical. So I can hit preview here. Instead of hitting enter, I'm going to over here and click this one. Don't hit enter. Don't hit enter. If you did hit enter, just back out. Redo it. All right. Does that look good? Yes. That is a full bleed card. There should be no white spacing here whatsoever. There should be no white spacing here whatsoever. Hit OK. Okay, let's go to our layers. Notice that they're all on that. This one, all the lines should be on that one. They are. And all the top cuts are on that too. Congratulations, you have made an Imposition 8 up. Very cool. So what we do is save this. And the next few steps are ahead. All right, so the next step of this is to label all the cut marks. So what we do is we'll grab the text tool because we have to type these into the machine to cut it. Or establishing a cut sheet. Later on, you'll learn how to establish a cut sheet with no numbers, so on a digital press. Okay, so take advantage of the numbers while you can. All right, we're going to make a new layer where these numbers are going to live. You can lock out all the other layers so you don't interrupt them. And we're going to go and just make a text box. Okay? And then fill that text box with something. And if it's not making the text box, make it over here. Oh. There we go. All right. So you could just fill this with placeholder text right now, which is like, I'll just put 5.00. Okay. And then make this at probably a 6 font. And you want it so this thing, like that. And you also want this to be right about here. We'll actually get rid of the boundary here in a second. As far as the overall cards, you'll notice that all the cards have this black line around them. Okay? So we'll get rid of that here shortly. So what we do is to take this one and you can use Alt, click, and drag, or you can use step and repeat. It's up to you. I'm just going to use Alt, click, and drag. And I'll use Shift also while I'm dragging. If you mess up, you can use the arrow tools on the keyboard. There we go. So now we need to establish those for here. So this one. This one. This one. And I would leave a little bit of space here, make it look nice. And this one. Cool. All right, so those are on that layer. So let's lock that one out and let's clean up the outline edge. So let's see where that lives. It lives on this layer right here. Okay, so you can pretty much unlock and just lock the one layer. Okay, this is the one that needs to change. So toggle it on, highlight all the products, and just make sure under stroke that the weight of that stroke is at 0 for this one. Under the stroke menu. Now I should have something that looks like this. Nice, right? I can like read it. That's the most important part. Okay, the next part is what students hate the most. So let's just get it done. Let's go back to layers. Okay, this is where all your numbers live. And this is where your little cut marks are. Okay, so uncheck both locks. Okay, you highlight your cut mark. You go out over here, it's giving you the Y position. You go ahead and copy it to the second decimal point and you paste it here. Okay? If it disappears, that means you copied too much. You can fix that by just going like this. Okay, that works out. Or you can copy it the right way where it says 049. You round up if you want. You don't have to. You can leave the 6 in there. So you do that over and over again. So cut mark, again, you want the Y position of that. If you copy too much, go to the black arrow and you fix it. There we go. And repeat and repeat and repeat. After that, you'll get these. So how those work, these are your X coordinate. So you go click on it, you copy your X coordinate, and you paste in your X coordinate. Just like that. I use spacebar to navigate while I do this, and that's about it. So I'll do this off camera. It would be entirely boring to watch me type in all these numbers, but that's essentially what's going to happen. All right, so I went and did all the work. I put all the little numbers in, and I moved that over to a different machine to do it. So now I get the opportunity to show you how to fix links, because you see how pixelated this is? Okay, this is because, and there's a little question mark in the corner. That means I've moved the file, moved it back somewhere, and I have broken links. Okay, so if you go to Window and you go to Links, if this ever happens to you, you have this. Okay, it's up in the corner. I'll put it over here, make it bigger. So what you do is you hit the relink all instances. That's going to go look inside somewhere. It's going to try to find them for you. Okay, it's going to have be allowed to do that. It can't find it. It's like, well, I don't know. And it's kind of dumb, to be honest with you. So it's not going to find it probably. So now what you do is you go find the actual file and you hit open. And this will relink all instances within that, just like that. And then you can go File, Save. And then you save it right on top of the original. So you go like that, and make sure it's properly saved. A better thing to do is go File, Package at this point, so that we have a complete folder structure saved out. And then we're going to package this and call Business Video Cards Final. You're going to be asked to have this package later on. So constantly update this. In fact, when you get these completely done and correct, you're going to need that. Okay, one of the things that probably should not have on that is these lines. Okay, so layer 3, go ahead and turn that off. I just realized those are on. So turning those off, then export it as a PDF. I love when I do that. And you run Acrobat 5. All right, so now we go on to the print phase. So we're going to go into a different thing altogether. It's called Adobe Acrobat. So we'll get prepped for that. You must have the print driver installed onto your printer or onto your computer in order for this to work. So I provided a document probably somewhere that gives you that. All right, to get things started, we are going to take the PDF and open up in Adobe Acrobat. Okay, we always print from Acrobat. It's just the thing we do as printers. Always from Acrobat, not from the software that we made it in. There's many options that are missing in the print driver for those applications, and they're only in Acrobat. That's why. And it's just the industry standard is to do an Adobe Acrobat PDF. We use those for storing. We give them sometimes to the client. So do not print from InDesign, Photoshop, or Illustrator without making a PDF. And there's only rare occasions that that happens, like let's say the laser cutter likes vector lines. In that case, you are to use Adobe Illustrator for that. But anytime we are printing on paper, it's always a PDF. Okay. I think I got that crossed. So, on the desktop here, I have the business cards final. I'm going to right click on them and I'm going to open with Adobe Acrobat. Here's what they look like. And of course, since I've saved this out without the lines, okay, they are not present. They must not be present. Okay, so here is rant number 2. No matter how crafty you think you are when you're designing your business cards and you are defending the black border, I will deny them every time. Every time. Don't care. Because I know that you're leaving them in there because you think it's going to potentially help you to cut them without math. Okay? So that's why I deny it, and it's ugly. It is. Got it. And it makes drift happen too. So if you want to go the other route, so when you cut your business cards, they'll have like a little baby drift of those lines because they're so close to the outside edge, and they're ugly. I said it. Let's hit print. Okay, this menu right here, this is the one thing that students always make a mistake on. So we're going to go actual size, not fit, and not custom scale. Okay, if you do these, there will be all off, all the sizes. Okay, next window. Since we are printing to the color copier, this is the workflow. In the assignment somewhere, I had you install the printer drivers for this. I would add that to the video, but it's very specific to our lab. So make sure that you have the printer drivers installed on your printer. It's part of the assignment. Okay, cool. Paper feed. Bypass tray. Okay. Printer features. Now, if it pops up with something like this, this is wrong. Okay? It should have something that looks like this. Let's try that again. Print panel. Why did it show up the second time? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Okay? So let's do that. Print panel. Settings. A magical place should pop up. We choose bypass tray and we say bond for this assignment. And reason bond is because it's a thick paper that does duplexing. So that means it prints on the front and prints on the back. Hit OK. Hit print and do not hit print. So now I'm going to play a video of me going out to the machine first and then doing a few things, and then when I come back I'll be right back to hit print. So watch the video on how I set up the printer. Do not hit print until you set up the printer. Alright, so you're going to be using this color printer for the exercise, but first you need to change the paper setting on the inside of it. So to do that, go up here and you go into paper settings. You go to multi-purpose setting. You change this to make sure it is letter and set this to bond for this exercise. Okay. And then close all that out. And then when you're using the multi-purpose tray, just know that these right here are very important. So I'll zoom in on them. So these need to be tucked directly up to the paper. So when you put a piece of paper in, if they're not, this can slide side to side. So what you do is go like that. Again, here's what that looks like on this side. If you see a message that pops up on the screen, when you set new paper, press change the paper setting, you hit OK. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set it so that it comes out the center tray. Just behind this screen there's a tray, and it's the shortest path out of the machine, and a lot of times it's the best part, or the best path out of the machine. So in order to set that, you go to System menu, you go into Common Setting, you go to Paper Output, Printer, and you say Job Separator Tray. That's what that one is. This will avoid all the problems that you might occur when you have heavy cardstock running through the machine and it getting caught up all the time. So hit OK and hit close and close. Now the only downside to that is you can only print about maybe 50 sheets and you have to take them out manually. But other than that, we're running short runs, so it shouldn't have any effect whatsoever. Alright, we're back. Now you've set up the printer correctly. I should be able to hit print. Boom. Common mistakes here. Student hasn't hooked up onto our network. So always remember to use JACC for this. Or, let's see, I think that's about it. As long as you're on our network. A PDF does take a little bit longer to print sometimes, so when you see this, it says printing connected to printer, good job. And just let it roll. Then go out there and make sure that you got your printed product, because a lot of time there's a horde of teenagers attacking that printer, and you got to fight the horde every time. So good luck. And that's the end of this video. Single-sided business card. That's how it works.